Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. I'm Idan Tobias, coming from Berlin. Yeah. I'm from Resourceful Humans, and I invite you now to come with me down the rabbit hole of digital disruption. And I will start with explaining a bit about my own personal journey in the whole scene of digital transformation. So for me, it all starts around 4.5 years ago when I joined the digital transformation of Teva Pharmaceuticals, a big pharmaceutical company, 57,000 employees in 60 countries. I was assigned with the role to digitalize HR. It was the HR digital transformation. Everybody got very excited about it. We said, okay, we're going to change the way we work. We had a lot of buzzwords. We had a lot of budget. We had a lot of people. And we said, we're going to make it. We traveled around the world. It was really exciting times. We went up to the clouds and down to earth. We communicate with people from around 20 countries. We create global clusters of teams. Really, really amazing work. And I remember the day after 4 years of doing this thing, traveling the world, working with consultants, a lot of them, maybe every consultant out there. And I was sitting with my leader at the time. She's an incredible person that I appreciate so much. And I was looking at her and asking, this is HR disruption? Like, what did we disrupt it, actually? Like, yeah, we have digitalized processes. We are in the cloud. We can save some money. Okay, but this is disruption? And then we got to this realization. You know, and I love this quote of the Red Queen from Alice in Wonderland. She said, in order to stay in the same place, you need to run as fast as you can. But if you want to go to somewhere else, you need to run at least twice as fast. And this is where we are. We were running as fast as we can just to keep up with the current fate of things, just to make sure that we have digital documents, just to make sure we don't need to approve manually things. But we kept on doing the same things again and again. So we also realized that if we really want to do things differently, we need to think differently. And of course, nobody can run twice as fast as he can. So how do you do that? So, and once you get to this realization, you know, you understand that the world around you change. You look at the Airbnbs of the world, you look at the Ubers of the world, and you're telling to yourself, I cannot continue to do the things the same way I'm doing it until now. The world had changed, whether we like it or not. So how it can actually look like, how will HR disruption can actually look like, and how did we get to where we are today? So many companies are investing millions of dollars or tens of millions of dollars in huge projects, ending up, starting with a lot of promises and ending up with a website, like, or ending up with a portal where you can submit forms to, like, disruption? So how did it all happen from my perspective? So this is where we are today, right? We have the hierarchies, we have the person on the top, we have a lot of people doing what they are told to do. And where does this coming from? What, like Amazon came up with it? Like, where did it start? These structures actually started in the Industrial Revolution, right? Where we had smart people on the top that graduated from high school, right? And we have a lot of workers that just came and go to do what they were told. The tasks were very simple. You need manually to change things around or to switch things around. And of course, you create processes and policies and governing every step of the way to make sure that everybody are doing what they were told to do. And for everything, we will need an approver, because this guy in the production line, how can we trust him, right? But is this where we are today? So if we know that the population in our organizations and society is different, the tools that they have are different, and if we look at tomorrow's production side, marketing, R&D, it's kind of a sophisticated environment. We expect from the simplest workers to use technology, to be qualified, certified, educated, right? The questions that we are asking ourselves in our work on a daily basis are complex. So we also need to design our organizations in a new way that actually suits us as humans in this age, in this time, solving the problems that we need to solve. And actually, all of this digital transformation initiative that we are working today on in corporates or different organizations were designed for this structure, was designed for hierarchies, for approvals, right? A lot of times when we are digitally disrupting corporates, we're creating more approvals, right? Because you need to approve in paper and on the web. Or you need now to do it in 2 levels of approval, because all of a sudden, the manager on top can see that you approved without his approval, right? All of this was designed for this kind of work. It's around work processes, policies, etc. So, with this realization, I started to search the world. I didn't mention it before, but I'm coming from Israel. I was born and raised in Israel. And I moved to Berlin to join this Resourceful Humans community and startup that is actually designing solutions for this kind of an environment. Does it look familiar for you? Yeah, it looks more human, right? It looks like interactions, right? People can move freely. If you will look at the organizations that you are in today, this is how they really look like, right? You want to create all this cross-functional, multicultural, what is this, right? Is trying to move from this style of organization to the real interactions that we have between people. So this is where we are right now, not tomorrow. But we are using this toolkit to deal with that. So all of the tools that we are creating are trying to push organizations to realize their interactions. And this is where a lot of times I get the response of, this is like hocus pocus, right? It's like magic. And maybe it's good for small companies, or maybe it's good for the startups, or even other companies, you know, but no, it's so difficult for me. It's so difficult in our culture or organization. But there are big organizations that are working in a different way today. You have Morningstar, which is around 20,000 employees in the US. This is not a high-tech company. They are producing tomatoes, right? So, and they don't have managers. They don't have hierarchies. They don't have approvals. You have W.L. Gore, a huge company, very profitable. No hierarchies, no approvals. So it happens. But we do understand, and coming from a corporate and coming from this hierarchical, approval-oriented environment, we understand that it's hard. So what we designed is a set of tools that we call digital exercise. And I want you to imagine together with me how work can be done differently. Let's imagine that we are creating a work environment that you feel ownership in, that you feel free to collaborate, that when you're coming to your colleagues, there's not a wall of a position definition, functional orientation, managerial hierarchy that you need to step above in order to communicate or to get things done. And so what we are saying today that we are using this grid to analyze the state of the company today. So you can ask yourself, where is your company today? So here on the top, you have the startups. Let's say something that just started, very fuzzy. Everybody can do whatever they want, but no structure at all. And a lot of time it doesn't work because nobody is really going to the same direction. Here you have the Volkswagens of the world, right? Where everything is really centralized. It's like a spider organization that if the headquarters doesn't tell you, okay, you cannot do anything. Those are organizations that push the control to the borders of the organization. So you can have clusters where within the clusters, you have some freedom to act, but you're still centralized around a specific function or a person. A network organization is a different creature. It's a creature where you don't have a clear center, where people can interact with each other freely. They can invite other people to work with them. They can design their own contributions to the organization. And how do they know what to do? How do they know where to focus on? So if these organizations are centralized around a person, so this organization is centralized around a common aspiration or a common purpose. And you do have the connections, you do have the structure, and you do have the mechanism where we know how people can interact with each other. It's not completely free, but people are still free to decide how they do it, and with whom they do it, and when and where. And in this kind of organization, when the environment is changing and the organization is under stress, these organizations tend to become more centralized. This is what we are seeing. When we have stress from the technology environment, we are digitalizing HR to one unit that can decide how the function is working. We are globalizing the HR function, which is going centralized. And centralized entities are more, are facing more hard time facing changes. We all know it, right? You are moving globally because you are saying the environment is changing, but moving globally makes it much more difficult to handle change. These organizations are adaptable. If you look at W. L. Gore, you will see that each and every function can create new initiative for new markets. They have autonomy in their market. In Morningstar, if you are in a specific market and you are responsible for the production line, you can decide to put it up, put it down, to raise the price, to lower the price. You have the freedom to decide, and it allows you the flexibility you need to compete. In order to do that, we also strive to change the leadership model. This is where, somewhere here in the red field, this is where most of the companies that I'm at are. The boss and approval worker. And if you want to ask yourself where we are in this scam, like between everybody is considered as a leader and have ownership to a boss approval worker scale, you can ask yourself how many approvals do I need to give or to get in order to get things done. Okay, for example, if you want to take a vacation, do you need an approval? If you want to travel, do you need an approval? Right? Sometimes if you want to eat in another site, you need an approval. So this is how you see that. And in order to push organization up to the ladder, we understand that we need to change the way leaders interact with one another and with their subordinates First of all, we need to change the fact that they look at them as subordinates, like, okay, they are peers or colleagues, people that we consider as meaningful and responsible and adults. And in order to do that, we need to create clarity within the organization to allow them really to translate the purpose, explain why they're doing it. And for workers, we need to scale people up to be able to have better perspective about what does it take really to change the organization or to make decisions. So what will be the impact of my decision on the organization? This will allow them to interact. And how do we do it? Transparency, allowing people to have more information and more access. Respect, explaining clarity, explaining why are we doing what we do, and creating a common understanding of that. So everything that we do in Resourceful Humans is about changing this perspective. We call it digital exercise. Before we had digital detox, now we have digital exercise, where we allow managers, we allow employees and leaders to experience things being done differently. So it's not only about implementing technology or something else, but it's more about getting this experience about how can you do things different. So we have a portfolio of a bunch of stuff. I'm not going to go through all of them. One thing that we do, we designed a VR game around the story of David Marquez. David Marquez is a USS submarine captain that changed the way he worked within his organization. He wrote a book about it, turned the ship around. And what we are doing here, we're actually placing leaders. And we did it with, for example, the board of Accenture Technology, with Daimler. We are placing leaders in a new environment. They are in a submarine. And they have a task. They need to save people or destroy the enemy or whatever. And very fast, they understand that because each and every person have a different perspective of what is going on, have different information. For example, only the captain knows the mission, but only the navigator knows where the enemies are. So they understand very quickly, and because it's VR, it's virtual reality, it creates this emotional effect where people actually understand quickly that they cannot continue with this command and control environment. If they will do this command and control, they will just bomb themselves up. So they go again and do things differently, and they still destroy the ship and go again until they realize how to delegate, how to communicate, how to speak out loud what is needed to do and what I see. Yeah, I see that I run out of time. I need to do like this. Yeah. So what I want to do is, first of all, to invite you to think differently about the things, to invite you to communicate and to take the first step towards doing things different and believe that it can be done. And also understand that where you would like to work in, what is the environment that you would like to create for your people. So I'm Idan, and you're welcome to connect with me for discussion, for whatever. Thank you very much.